Welcome to Rauta. This video is done in commercial collaboration with our sponsor, Steelfest. Hello and welcome to Rauta's Underground Trio video. Your favorite annoying metal review guy is here, back with some bands. This time in this Underground Trio doesn't exactly feature 3 bands but 5. The reason is this: we have 3 different releases and one of them is a 3-way split. So 3 plus 1 plus 1 equals 5. Because none of these bands really shine here, it's kind of a complicated, kind of a almost unfair to put them in any kind of a order, because the thing here is, today's episode is kind of a tragic and sad because I'm one annoying piece of crap because I don't really like any of these like big time. While all of these bands in this episode kind of show promise and they kind of are potential one day to be really good bands, with these releases in question, things are not exactly like wow, but more like, yeah, I get where you're going, I get where you're coming from, but maybe a little bit honing and polishing and a little bit more focus is needed. So let's first start with the Death Over Ostrobothnia split release featuring 3 different death metal bands from Finland. Now, these are not in any particular order here in terms of quality, but rather in the way which they are showcased here on this split release already out since 2022. So I'm gonna guide you through as we go. This one has indeed quite a few songs, 9 in all, which is 3 per band. First being Kompost, which definitely means what you're expecting it to mean. Then we have Living Inferno, the youngest of the bands here in question, and finally ending up with Tormenticon, being the oldest one, at least in terms of releases. Now, this is, fortunately, not unfortunately, only 35 minutes overall in length, which is a good thing here because you really wouldn't, I guess, listen to some 60 minutes of 3-way split when it's done very much like demo level ways recording. Now, this probably also explains why this is independent release. Curiously, and I guess in a fair ways, all of these bands have the same song, same release, or at least same name of the release on their Bandcamp sites. So you're pretty much wherever you go, you will find the release with the same name and all. But that's about the physical product. Unfortunately, I don't have it here in Spain. It's left in with me, my home in Finland. So first we'll start with Combo's 3 songs in, and this is pretty basic death metal with kind of demo level recordings. One shorter track, one lengthier track, and one in the middle. And things are almost like, let's go back to very basic death metal. None of it really stands out. It's not like too melodic, too brutal, or anything like that. But it's kind of about death metal. What do you expect to be from a school book example? And that's both in good and bad. The good thing is it's death metal without no gimmicks, no bullshit, and all that stuff. But the downside is you probably heard this already 1,000 times before, maybe even more. And if the question is why would you go for Kompost rather than some of the better ones, I really have no answer for you, because while these guys are like showing like, yeah, we can do death metal, it's not something that wow. It's kind of a cookie cutter thing, which is like you are able to listen to it without no problem, and then you kind of forget it and move on. Demo level in the terms of songwriting as well as the production, it could be way more heavier, way more brutal, and none of this really makes a big impact. But it's like said, not annoying either. It's just very very basic stuff. Now, second band Living Inferno is a little bit better with its 4 tracks, not 3, like I said. Sorry, three tracks indeed. And I'm just kind of scrolling down their lines, failing to do mathematics. Um, the thing here is, this is basically almost like Kompost, but at least this is a little bit better in terms of vocals. You have those kind of a somewhat aggressive, more aggressive take. Maybe the tempo is a little bit more also there, but much like Kompost, this is very much like a demo level recording in terms of production as well. It doesn't really stand out from the big world or anything like that from the scene, but on this pile, this split release, it's probably kind of easily the best one. I mean, it is the best one, but I'm trying to figure out if this really is like that big of a difference. All in all, pretty much the same words would apply for Living Inferno as Kompost, just being a little bit better here, which is kind of curious because this is only a 2 years old band, but they already have something, in my opinion, more potent stuff here, and as such, this is the best of the split here. Tormenticon is almost the same as the two previous bands, but this is more with a black metal twist, maybe more so with the vocals rather than riffs, but still. So all these comes from a little bit different angles, but overall they are almost the same quality. I mean, they all lack kind of a punchy production, and they all write really interesting songwriting. So old school, yeah, but do they really like go wow? Not really. Good way to get to know all of these bands if you're looking for something new in the death metal territory. But if you're looking for something that is like definitely worth buying and all that stuff, you can just ignore this split and move on. Unfortunately so, I guess, but like I said, it's not bad. It's just mediocrity, lukewarm, mid, whatever you want to call it. Then the second band in question is from Germany, and this one is more on the black death metal department. A debut album called Nereidean, Seismic End. Now, this comes from the territory which is kind of like more on the death metal side with very down-tuned guitars and heavy production, but it's one of those bands that kind of also fail with that. Now, my point here is I'm gonna explain it to you and you get bored or whatever. There are lots of bands which are like, okay, Immolation did it and Incantation did it and whatever, and let's just go with the down-tuned guitars so it sounds like heavy as hell by default. Kinda, yeah. But that's the downside when you kind of speed up with those down-tuned guitars and the kind of already, default heavy sound is that it kind of gets mushy. Not only that, but the riffs are not that great. I mean, this is kind of a album that the first wave is like, wow, it's rushing on me with those that heaviness and the kind of a darker presence, so kind of a dark heavy metal, like death metal that is, with a little bit of black metal on the go because the vocals are definitely leaning on that part, especially with the kind of uh, how to put it, the way these vocals are done. They're not your typical growly one. But after the first wave of Rush, you kind of get it. It's nothing phenomenal when it comes to songwriting and all. So maybe if you're coming from, I don't know, black metal territory only and you're kind of a newbie to death metal, this might sound like, wow, these guys are doing something different. But if you are a long time death metal fan, I kind of find it hard to believe that this is gonna make a big impact. Don't get me wrong, I like the darkness here, but then again, it's almost like compromise. When you go for this kind of a hybrid, you're gonna sacrifice something. You're gonna sacrifice part of the death metal in order to sound a little bit blackish, and as well as the other way around. I mean, you're supporting, sacrificing some of the black metal parts in order to make it sound kind of a more death metallic. And as such, it doesn't really do neither of the sides properly. So I guess if we're in the modern times and we're talking about like transcenders of stuff, maybe this is when it goes to when you're comparing these to those different genres. But yeah, in one way, this album is somewhat likable, especially in the darker aspects of death metal, but it's not really catering to neither of these needs totally. But something different. So I don't know, maybe you're gonna like it. But you kind of need to be adjusted for death and black metal doing a kind of a hybrid. And if you cannot enjoy that much, then don't go for it. the last and definitely not the least, because in my opinion this is supposed to be a kind of a worst to best video, is Great Violator from Finland. This is already a rather old band. I mean, it's been there more than 15 years, but in terms of albums, the band has been only active like past 4 years now. This being the second album called Reet. Here it's called black trash metal, but I mean, in a way, this almost sounds like death trash. I don't really know. It's kind of hard to say because it's not purely trash at all. It's not purely, definitely not purely like death metal or black metal, but kind of combining those elements. And as such, it's one of those hybrids that you just kind of need to get your head around. And that also means that vocals are not exactly growly, they're not raspy, but kind of taking parts of different styles and also having a little bit of a semi-clean vocals, which is, in my opinion, very, very interesting. It's just that it's almost like a little bit holding back. I mean, I kind of wish it went just totally all in kind of stuff and see if it floats. Because now it's almost like as if the vocalist wants to do proper, vocals and like, I don't know, in a Destroyer 666 sense and all that stuff, but like somebody's like, hey, don't go for that. To hold a little bit back so they don't consider we too much of a hybrid. Us, I guess. But when it comes to songwriting, this is almost a little bit too much all rounded. That is like not going full into death metal, not too full into black metal, and definitely not going too full in the thrash metal department, but having a little bit of everything in the mix. However, there's one song that, in my opinion, really stands out, and I kind of just wish the album has more of those. And that song is called Stone Anchor. This is more in the kind of a melancholic song, which is definitely something different when you're expecting some kind of aggression blending into extreme metal. Now, a lot of people might say, yeah, it's the weakest link because they're going too emotional and all that stuff. But in my opinion, that actually stands out because it's clearly something else than just a kind of a weird mix of all these extreme metal styles. Now, this band is, in my opinion, now in the crossroads. Sometimes it happens with bands when they're on their third albums. They're figuring out, okay, we did already 2 albums and now we're kind of having to shed our skin and figure out what we're going to be doing next. Now it seems like this album is already there with the second album. As if they're running out of ideas with this given style and they're figuring out which way to go. Should we add more death metal? Should we remove the black metal? Should we focus on purely trash metal? I don't know. I wish they kind of figure out and focused one of those styles more than the others, because now it's like a too much of this and that, but not any of these styles like with full focus, full force, and going crazy about it. Also, what kind of annoys me with this album is like the production is quite okay, but nothing beyond that. And as you know, so many bands have so good production these days. So when you're like just quite okay, is it really enough? Now, this is the question you need to answer for yourself because, of course, it depends person in question. I don't have a hard time listening to old death metal or trash metal or black metal ones with kind of shittier sound, but when it's 2022 or 2023, yeah, it's not gonna cut it if you're just quite okay. You really need to just blow up those temples and make the earth, shake and whatever, and that's pretty much of it. You just need to have more focus, more power, more force, more everything. Yeah, I don't know if it doesn't make sense. I guess I'm still a little bit tired from the festival, and maybe it kind of shows through how I'm complaining about this and that here and not being super happy about anything. But if I got you interested in some of these bands, you will find links provided in the description box. So click, and start listening or use your search skills because this will be found on streaming services, Bandcamp or YouTube or, I don't know, in some cases in Spotify. So go for yourself and check those bands that you want to. And if neither of you got your interest, well, can't blame me. I didn't write the music. Alright, see you soon with more reviews coming your way, and leave a note in the comment section how you hate this video and all that stuff. Okay, bye.